Hi, I'm Joe Neighbour. This is a video for Eightcap, and today we're going to be talking about the AI-powered economic calendar that is available to traders at Eightcap and how you can make the most of this impressive tool to give you more of an edge when it comes to trading. Now, when you log into your customer portal, you will see on the left-hand side there is a tab for economic calendar. So this really should be a starting point for any trader when it comes to setting up your trading day, to make sure you're aware of the upcoming economic events, what impact they're likely to have, and how this could impact the trades that you currently have open or are considering opening throughout the trading day. These tools are also available on MT4 and MT5 and can be done very quickly using the installers that we have. There's guides available as well to make this a very seamless transaction for you to get this tool up and running on your MT4 and MT5 trading accounts. I'm today going to focus on the economic calendar within the customer portal and hopefully give you some insights on how you can use the tool and how it can help improve your overall trading. So we have the economic calendar here, as I said, on the left hand side, and then it brings up this economic calendar tool. So let's just scroll this in to try and make it a little bit easier for you to see on the video. And what we have, first of all, is a number of filters which we can use. We can also look at different date ranges. So if we want to focus on events in the future or have a look at what happens in the past, we can do that here with the calendar tool. Very simple to do. Now, typically, when it comes to economic calendars, I'm sure most of you have seen them previously, and they typically come in a very boring linear column-based format. And it's very difficult to actually see what impact these events are likely to have. Typically, they do have an impact code, whether that be low, medium, or high. But what we're trying to do here is actually bring this to life with visualizations and make it much easier for you to spot where the major data points are on the day ahead. So we've got a nice color coding on here, all of which is listed in the key below. So we have impact level low, medium, and high. These are represented by green, which is low impact events, orange, which is medium impact events, and red, which is high impact events. Now, depending on where you're trading in the geographic region that you tend to focus most of your trading efforts, you can apply a number of filters here to really try and bring into focus the events that are going to impact the trades that you've got on or thinking about taking in the hours to come. So what we can do here with the tool is select which impact we're most interested in. So for the purpose of the video, I'm going to select high impact news events, and I'm also going to take a look at the United States to see what's coming up there. So we can see that's reported 5 results for me, and we can apply that then. And then we have a number of events that are coming up throughout the rest of this week. So today is Tuesday, the 7th of March. And the main event today is the Fed Chair Powell's testimony, which will be out at 3 p.m. UK time. So that's now. So the speech is underway. And what we can actually do is apply these events to our calendars so we can never miss an event again going forward. So if you know there's a specific event that's upcoming and you want to be aware of that, you can quickly add it to a variety of calendars so you're alerted to the event ahead of time and you can get involved in markets prior to that. Now, with all of these events, there is a description that you will find below as to what the event actually is. So you might see events upcoming like ISM or CPI or PMIs or non-farm payrolls, and previously they may have mean nothing to you. You may have had to go on some rabbit hole search on Google to find out. Here it's all listed for you in one place, so we can really educate you about the upcoming events and the likely impact that they're going to have on the markets. So we can see here that Fed Chair Powell testifies today. We can also see what markets this is likely to affect. Now, typically it's going to be based on US dollar markets because we're focusing on North America, and obviously anything that's linked to Jerome Powell is going to impact the US dollar. So anything here that's linked to the US dollar is typically listed in these assets. So we can see here a number of currencies, we can see some indices, we can see commodities, and we can expand that list out to cover a whole lot more as well. So if there's anything that you're involved in at the moment and we've got an upcoming event, you may want to check the list of assets that this event is likely to impact and hopefully give yourself a bit more understanding about what to expect. So let's go and look at another important data point. So this week we've actually got non-farm payrolls, which is one of the most hotly anticipated economic events around. It happens once a month, typically the first Friday of every month, and it tends to get traders in a bit of a spin ahead of that because it can create substantial volatility in the market. So on this tile here, we can see that we have a high impact event. We can see that it's impacting the US. We've obviously got the name of the event. We've got the time at which it's coming out and a countdown feature here as well. And again, we can apply that to our calendars if we wish. Then we have the forecast. So this is the number that the analysts and the market has priced in. So this is what we expect to see on Friday. We expect there to be a number of 200,000 reported at 1:30 UK time. We can see previously that the number was 517,000. And obviously for the actual, we don't have a read on that yet. But when that comes out, that will be populated in. It will be green if the number comes in better than expected. It will be red if the number comes in worse than expected. So check back for when the actual number comes out and you'll get that in real time into this calendar. So then we have the description of non-farm payrolls. And then below that, we have the assets that it's likely to affect. And it's a big list of assets, as you can see there. So there's not much that gets away unscathed when it comes to non-farm payrolls, particularly if there's a link to the US dollar. It's likely to have an impact and create substantial volatility. So this, for me, as a trader, is where it starts to get really interesting, and we can actually visualize the history of non-farm payrolls and see why this is such a volatile event and why it's something we need to pay attention to. This chart shows us the forecast, the actuals, and the true range of the event. So we can see here in the thick black line, that is the actual number that came out. In the dotted line, shows the forecast. Now, when we see a green dot, that indicates that the number has come in above the analyst's forecasts. And when we see a red dot, that indicates that the number has come in below analysts' forecasts. Now, why non-farm payroll is such a big event and why it creates so much volatility is because the forecasts and the actuals tend to differ quite substantially. As you can see here, it's not very often, if at all, maybe just this occasion here, where the analysts actually came very close to predicting the number. The rest of the time, there is actually quite a lot of divergence between the actual number and the forecast, which is what creates that volatility. Now, interestingly, what we can do from this as well is actually have a look at these past events and see how price has been impacted on all of these assets that we've got listed above. So at the moment, we're looking at Euro US dollar, but if we're interested in sterling dollar, or if we want to focus on New Zealand dollar or an index, like the Dow 30, for instance, then we can actually see the impact of this particular news event on the price on a typical basis. So taking the average of all of these previous events, going back to the fourth quarter of 2021, we can see that on average, 1 hour after the event itself, price typically moves positively by 34.7 pips on Euro US dollar. So that gives us an indication of the sort of range we can expect when the event comes out at 1:30 on Friday. We can also then look forward over 1 day, over 1 week, and 1 month as well. Now, if we actually want to focus on the individual events, we can actually click on those as well. So we can go back to the fourth quarter of 2001 and we can click on this event here. The reason I picked this one is because this is a really large miss. The price visit, or the value of the economic data was expected to be all the way up here, but the actual release was all the way down here. So this was a negative shock. So we can see here that after this particular event, Euro US dollar actually rose by 0.18% because it was negative for the US dollar, which means that the euro went higher versus the US dollar. We can also see news sentiment in the day before that was actually maybe already indicating that things weren't going to be as positive as maybe the market expected. 79% of the news flow in the one day before this event was actually bearish. So of all the news articles that had mentioned Euro US dollar, our artificial intelligence systems took all of that news and actually summarized it as being bearish at the moment with regards to Euro US dollar. So looking at these events, we can again get some maybe indication about where price may head. If you've got a particularly strong belief, if you think that the number is going to come in above or below expectations, you can use all this information to try and position yourself positively ahead of these major events. Let's now take a look at a big beat. So let's go here to the third quarter of 2022. So this is where the number came in much better than expected, and we can see here on the histogram below that the range on this particular event was a lot higher. Going back here, we can see that there were reasonable reactions to the number throughout this period here, where it seems as though the analysts were making more accurate forecast. There wasn't as much volatility, but then in recent times there has been a substantial increase in volatility, and we're seeing a lot bigger movements in euro US dollar as a result of the non-farm payroll number. But back to this data point here. So again, this was the third quarter of 2022. The forecasts were all the way down here, and the number came in much better than expected. And as a result of that, we saw dollar strength, which meant that euro US dollar fell in price. And in the hour after the event, it was actually 0.68% lower. And by the end of the day, 0.59% lower. So again, a big range for us potentially to take advantage of as a result of these major events. Now, obviously, non-farm payroll is typically one of the most volatile. We can check back through another list of numbers as well. Things like CPI has been really volatile of late as well, but these will change as the economy goes through different phases. So do check all of those data points that are coming out, particularly those high impact ones, and make them relevant to the markets that you're trading at the moment. Okay, so further down, we've got a news feed. Anything that's linked to euro US dollar is going to be in this news feed. All of the most up-to-date information is going to start filtering through. So if you do want to look at news, and news is important to you, and you don't trust necessarily the visualization of news alone, you can go into more detail and look at the commentaries and the analysis that's being posted here in the news section. On the right hand side, we actually visualize news sentiment. So this is where we take all of our data that we are curating using artificial intelligence to assess the bullish or bearishness or the positivity or the negativity towards individual assets, and actually visualize it on a chart and overlay price with this as well. So in black here, this is the price of euro US dollar, and in red, we are indicating the current news sentiment. So we can see throughout this period here, there was a fairly tight correlation between news sentiment and price. We can see news sentiment was moving lower and price was moving lower as well. But interestingly, in recent times, we've started to see news sentiment pick up. Although it's still bearish overall, in the short term, we're actually starting to see a bit of a pickup in news sentiment, but that wasn't necessarily being seen in the price. So what we saw here was an uplift in news sentiment, but the price was lagging behind it a little bit. So news actually provided us here with a leading indicator that price was potentially about to move higher. So we can see here the uplift in news sentiment not corresponding on the price, but eventually we did see the price start to turn higher. So if you're an active trader looking for opportunities in the market, news sentiment can be a very useful tool. So we can see here news sentiment started to rise. That may get you thinking that actually there might be an opportunity to buy the dip here on euro US dollar. News sentiment is turning a bit more positive. Maybe price is going to follow. And in this instant, it certainly did. We can see that price has also moved higher in line with news sentiment. So there's lots of information that can be taken from this economic calendar, really elevating the economic calendar to a new level, I think, and could provide you with lots of different trading opportunities. And if not just for trading opportunities, but also maybe to manage existing positions that you have as well. Find out how volatile on average these events have previously been, and then of course look to trade your positions accordingly. Hopefully that video has been useful and you get good use from the tool. It's really useful, and yeah, best of luck with your trading. Thank you very much for watching the video. Goodbye.